I'm Jim Manning, author of Patriotism Unhinged, available worldwide through online retailers and audiobooks. George Bush was a member of the CIA the day he stepped out of Yale.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, he was in Dallas that day.
Mm-hmm.
He was, I believe there were five of our presidents who knew about the assassination. We start with LBJ, okay?
Yep.
We know that Nixon knew about it because Nixon was at the big party that they had the night before the assassination at Clint Murchison's house. Now, he owned 500 companies and was an oil gazillionaire in Texas. And he put up the $400,000 for the team that was representing business interests.
And that was interesting how you brought that up in the book. I never had any idea about that, but these guys stood to gain a lot from the assassination. So that's very interesting.
It was a large party, and it was being thrown for J. Edgar Hoover. And J. Edgar Hoover, I don't know what the event was, but he came in with his assistant, Clyde Tolson, and but at about 11 o'clock, when it was getting ready to sort of break up, Johnson came in. And when Johnson came in, the men excused themselves from the party, and they went into his study, which was huge. And there could have been 20, 22 people in there. They talked about the assassination and whatnot, and Nixon was in that room, and so he knew about it. And then H.W. Bush was part of it, so he knew about it. And on the day of the assassination, it must have been CIA "Take Your Child to Work with You" book, because there's a picture of W. Bush in Dealey Plaza that day, quizzically looking for his father, who had been picked up and taken to an office and told everybody he was a CIA agent. Then he walked out. But and then he's the only man in America who was alive at the time who doesn't know where he was when Kennedy was killed. He told that lie for years. I really don't remember where I was doing. Anyway, and the last one, I believe, is Gerald Ford, because Gerald Ford was put on the commission, and he was a little-known congressman at the time, and he was so close to J. Edgar Hoover that every night that anything of substance was discussed in the Warren Commission hearings, he would call J. Edgar Hoover and tell him what happened, what went on, and what they might be careful of or watch for, things like that, And so that would indicate to me he more than likely knew about it. So that's five presidents who knew about it.
Wow.
And
never said anything about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And two of the people that were on the commission wanted to get off the commission, didn't ever want to be on it anyway. But two of them made a deal that in the commission they would say that they agree with everything except the single bullet issue, and that was the Kentucky senator and the Georgian senator. Those two guys said we won't say that, and so they said they told him, well, Dulles says, we're going to straighten that out, but he never did. and they were very, very upset about that. And then there was another guy that was killed in an airplane crash that they thought might be going to start talking about how he felt about it. So, I mean, it didn't go easy for them either. But there were so many threads that they didn't see coming. That's why I call them the gang that couldn't think straight. But
now another thing that you've shared, the captain of the old guard died mysteriously. So this is actually leading up to the assassination. So we have all these people talking just before the assassination in Dallas, and
right,
and then this poor captain, unfortunately, old guard. And the old guard, if anyone doesn't know, they're the guys that basically do like that precision 21 gun salutes. They're like crisp. Everything is perfect. These guys train hard. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, they march.
right.
They're like, they're the most professional of professionals as far as like military discipline and order. And so tell us about this crazy story about the old guard captain.
Okay.
God. Oh my God.
Well, first I will tell people that the guard, the head of the guard, is chosen by the president. He has, they bring several people to him, and he chooses which of those that he would like to be the head of the guard, captain of the guard. And he chose this gentleman. And
I never knew that. That's really interesting.
Yeah. He chose this gentleman, and they say one of the reasons, and this could be a story, I couldn't swear to this. They said that they were saying to him, to these people, would you have any trouble saluting the president? And of course, they all said, whoever they were, they said, no, or why would I? And he said, yeah, I would. And they said, well, why is that? He says, because there's no African Americans in the guard. And so they must have told Kennedy that. So when Kennedy was talking to him, he must have brought it up again. And then there were immediately African Americans in the guard. And he led the guard. And they take care of everything from the caissons to the horses to, everything that has to do with the ceremonial stuff, like you said. And however, on the day of the assassination, of course, he was back at Fort Myer. And after the 1 o'clock announcement that Kennedy had been killed, he was contacted by who we don't know to get ready to accept the body at Bethesda Hospital. And it could be as early as 4 o'clock. And we're not sure exactly whether it'll be on a plane or by helicopter, or maybe it'll come in an ambulance from an airfield, And so he went over there immediately. And the naval people, first class chiefs, and the people that worked around the morgue area of the hospital were told that this Army captain is in charge. So you'll take your orders from him, and you do everything that he says. He's in complete charge. So he probably was already conflicted, because he had been told about 3 days before this that he would start to practice for a presidential funeral.
Wow.
They later said, they got great minds working for them to cover it up. That somebody came up and said, well, Herbert Hoover was still alive at the time. And so then they said, well, that was because Herbert Hoover they thought was close to death. Well, he lived another year, so he wasn't that close to death. But anyway, so that's what they told him, and that's what was in his mind whenever the assassination happened. Okay, so then to make it even more uh, intricate was that if you remember, well, you were probably too young to remember, but people that were alive and even some children, everybody was watching TV. Remember that what you saw was the Secret Service carrying the casket up to the back of the plane and even breaking off some of the handles to get the casket in back there. They had to tear out a couple of rows of seats and get it in there. And then you saw inside the plane people gathering for the swearing in of LBJ, and that was all on film. And then there was no film, of course, while the plane was in the air. And the when the plane landed at Andrews Air Force Base, uh, in the front of the plane somehow, or maybe it was the back, I'm not sure. There was an elevator. Why they didn't take the casket in on the elevator, I wondered. But
Point, yeah.
they brought it out on an elevator, and it came down, and with it, the Secret Service were on the elevator, and I think Jackie and Robert, who had been in the plane once it landed with Jackie, got off of it along with his admiral, who was his personal physician, Jack's personal physician. And I don't know why he barely couldn't use one at that point. But anyway, they got into a gray naval ambulance with the coffin. That coffin proceeded over to Bethesda Hospital, and it arrived at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. They got out. The three of them got out. There were some dignitaries and military and civilian there, who then went with them, and they went up on the elevator to an area that was like a waiting room area, and the ambulance, what the press saw and were filming, was the ambulance pulling out, going around to the back of the hospital and pulling in to a parking space as close to the door of the morgue as possible, right next to a very similar gray naval ambulance, which was sitting next to it. Now, they had prepared to have some corpsmen take the casket out and bring it into the morgue. However, when they did that, suits and probably Secret Service and CIA were the suits, and they stopped the guys and they said, just put the casket down here outside the door. And then they took it inside on a gurney, and they moved it in and into an area where it's kept a little cold in there, because that's where they have the refrigerators that they put the bodies in. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and that was at about, according to the pathologist named Jim Jenkins, I think, who has been on TV with one of the people.
Ben David.
Ben David, yeah, Ben David. And he admits that he was there, and the coffin that that they brought in wasn't the coffin that you saw on the plane. The coffin that they brought in was a typical coffin transporting a person who was killed in combat, and put in a body bag and in one of those and sent over. And they moved that. He moved that opened it up, took the body out, along with I think a guy named Dennis David. But anyway, and so the body was wrapped in sheets, and they put it on a gurney, and they put the gurney there, and it sat there from about I think he said 6:30 to 7 o'clock. It sat there, and then they moved it somewhere. And now, what this guy, this captain of the guard, is seeing is that the body's there, and he doesn't know probably what's going on, where the plane landed, and that body's not there at 8 o'clock. So obviously, there wasn't anybody in the coffin that you saw on being transferred into the back of the airplane and down on the thing and into the. There wasn't anybody in the coffin. What really happened was, and this is conjecture, but that either Air Force Two was used, and immediately upon the death of Kennedy, somebody was searching for John Liggett. Now, John Liggett was the best mortician in Texas, maybe one of the best in the country. He had worked for the CIA before on cases that needed to have some handling done. And he was whisked away from a funeral, and he was on the plane with the body. My best guess, it wasn't Air Force Two. They would have a lot more room to work on the large jet that takes the all the other vehicles, the limousine and the Secret Service vehicles, because what normally happens is whenever Air Force One takes off, those vehicles are still at the airplane. They ride around and get in that large plane. That plane takes off and lands way ahead of Air Force One, wherever it's going. They then unload all those things, and they have them waiting so that when a plane pulls up, he gets out of the plane and gets in the limo.
Right.
That's what works.
Yep.
So I think that it's just common sense that John Liggett worked on the body, filling the hole in the back of the head with somebody else's. They probably had another body to use parts of. And, and
so, do you think that this captain somehow got?
Well, he
got
knew
some
the time. He knew the time difference.
Yeah.
So he knew they're lying. They're lying. The body was there way before they were there, so there was no body, coming on that plane. And that, coupled with the fact he was supposed to 3 days beforehand practice for the funeral.
Yep.
I think he drew the conclusion something's wrong here, and he might have said that to somebody, whatever.
Yeah.
And
he wasn't wise like you, and just kept that to himself for a little while, and then. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I've seen all this stuff too. I was part of details where I moved Ambassador Bremer in Iraq and stuff. So sure. You're right. Everything you have an advanced detail, and then you have the the detail that's around the president. Or so I think we know that the detail that was around the president was corrupt. Obviously, I looked at that and I was like, yep, those guys. That's not the way that works. The first shot, and that limo would have been so fast out of there, and yep, they were corrupt, bad.
So that coupled with the fact that his mother and father, he may have had some conversations with them in the time between the assassination and his death, because his father was a uh, executive with the Ford Motor Company, and whenever they wouldn't listen or uh, investigate any of what his family was trying to tell him, uh, he got very upset. He started drinking very heavily. Sometimes he went to work and sometimes he didn't go to work, but he got paid. No matter whether he went to work or he didn't get work, his check came. And the
Wow.
other thing that happened was he was entitled to a new car every year. And so what he would do when he ordered the car, he would pick the most outlandish things that were possible. On one, it said that he had a roof that was covered with zebra skin or something. The whole roof of the car was zebra skin, and it was pink, and had lights on it that were like from a fire truck, and all this craziness. And he would park that car in front of his house to upset his neighbors because they all uh, turned against him with his conspiracy theories.
Wow.
And so he was upsetting the neighbors with that car every year. And but he drove back and forth to work in a Mercedes Benz every day.
Hmm.
So and then he had a sister, Mr. Captain Groves had a sister, and the sister knew all about these things, and she was very, very talkative and trying to get press and doing all these kinds of things. And she was visited by a couple of suits.
Hmm.
Suits told her, "If you don't stop this, we're going to take your children from you."
Wow.
And so, uh, and by the way, she died a couple of years later at 33.
Oh, that number. Wow. Hmm. That's smart.
So, uh, and the captain himself had a physical within 6 months. Never had no problems. Was in top physical condition.
Oh yeah.
Never had no problems or wasn't sickly in any way. And
Mm-hmm.
so you don't just. But we do know that two things that they worked very hard on was the uh, ability for a quick death to be a heart attack that was very hard to trace, and that heart attack uh, may have been used uh, in some other deaths that I'm on that will make world news, and also uh,
Some kind of snake venom. Yeah.
and the other thing is that
Dirty
the
Trick Division.
huh? I'm
The
sorry.
Dirty Tricks Division. Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Venom.
yeah. And
Yep.
the other thing was that in Operation Mongoose, which was hiring the mob to kill Castro,
Right.
one of the idiotic attempts, cigars that blow up and I mean, there's nobody in the world who ever lived through more idiotic attempts to kill them than Castro.
Right.
But
Now,
anyway,
now that captain, if I remember correctly, he was after all this stuff, and I remember the funeral because my family kept it all quiet. They
yeah,
didn't want the kids to be exposed to it. I was 3. I'm the same age as John, but they
uh,
did let me watch the funerals procession, and I remember John doing that salute, and that's
oh
stuck out
yeah,
of my mind
oh
ever
yeah,
since. Yeah,
yeah. It was heart wrenching,
yeah,
heart wrenching. Yeah,
for the whole nation. God,
yeah,
they killed our president right in front of us in the most horrific way. Yeah, it's
yep.
crazy. Hmm. And we're still figuring it out, thanks to you.
Well,
We're getting even
you
more
know,
information.
it's really funny because I'm not. I'm probably. I guess a lot of people that know me would say I was a shy person, and I probably am. I'm blessed to have a wife that is. If we go to a party, by the time the party's over, she knows everybody in the room, or sometimes she'll just start talking to somebody at the next table when we're
Oh
in a
yeah.
restaurant. And
Yeah,
next
we're
week,
the same.
next
We're the
her,
same. I'm an
next
introvert,
her.
and my wife is an extrovert too. That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, I've been lucky, in my life, but I see myself as like everybody's next door neighbor. That's all. And I didn't
Yeah.
even know, for example, that when my daughter's a lawyer, and when I told her that we were starting to try to sell the book to get it out by doing these uh, views on YouTube.
Right.
And then afterwards, I said, it seems to be picking up. I mean, there's a lot of people who watch that stuff. And she says, Dad, there's millions of people that watch that every day. Even she says, you know, they they'll pay you for that sometime. And I said, oh, come on. I didn't even know anything about, when it comes to computers and things, I just gave up. I'm not going to, I'm a little too late to try to learn that now. But so I just see myself as a very regular guy who just had a lot of time on his hands and spent it in what I consider to be a very interesting situation worldwide. It it affects the whole world.
Yeah.
And
Fantastic.
but I would be it would be a great thing to go to my grave knowing that I was at least part of the awakening that caused another investigation that came to the correct conclusions. So that's why I do it.
I don't know if we're going to get that investigation. I think we're the truth tellers now, and we're the ones that are really getting it out there. So this is the great platform of doing that now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing they're allowing us to do it because I was censored on YouTube for a long time. So something has shifted. You have come out with your book at the perfect time, Patriotism Unhinged. So that's probably going to do well. My books, when they came out, because I talk about in my first book, I talk about the CIA because I was in the CIA, and I
Yeah.
think there'd be any problem. I've done top secret stuff, been part of that stuff for a long time. I know what's shareable and what's not, but there's some hinky stuff that happened once I released that book, and it's been suppressed quite a bit. So I think we passed that.